everybody, and welcome to the Ultimate Novel Writing Course live chat. And we're talking about crossing the finishing line and getting your novel written in a year with the help of myself and with the other tutors that will be on the course. Unfortunately, we were going to have the lovely Anna Vaught, but she's been having some technical issues, so she can't join us, unfortunately. And you're also in for a real treat, because not only am I going to be chatting as a tutor and a mentor, but we've also got two wonderful writers who are actually currently in my group on the summer course. We've got Ed Jones and Corey Sinnott here as well. They will be answering any questions that you have about what it's like to be on the course and what they've gained from the course and how things are going for them. So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Emma Cooper, and I write book club fiction, which it's a bit of a hard one to explain, really, apart from it tends to have a lot of discussion topics, and there tend to be darker themes running through it, but I'm kind of known for making readers laugh and cry. I came into writing quite late in life, really. I was 40 by the time I got my first book published. And I wasn't in the publishing industry at all. I wasn't sort of connected to anybody in publishing. I wasn't in any writing groups really either. And so I wrote my novel while I was working full time, and I have 4 children. And so I could only write sort of 500 words a day. But at the end of the week, I'd have a chapter. At the end of the month, you know, it was all totting up. And then with about 9 or 10 months, I had a novel. And I'm sure that a lot of you out there will be very, very aware of being on the old rejection train. And I want to just say to you that I have ridden the rejection train, as many of you will have done. I think I had probably over 30 rejections for my debut, The Songs of Us. And then I had, on one wonderful day, I had a request for a full manuscript from my agent, who is Amanda Preston. And then things went very, very quickly after that. And I sold globally in multiple preempts and auctions. And I've now got 4 books published with Headline here in the UK. So I just wanted to give that as a little bit of inspiration for any of you that are coming into this sort of later on in their life. And for those of you who are receiving rejections, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen for you. So if I can do it, then all of you certainly can. I've been working for Jericho now for about 3 years, and I have done many manuscript appraisals, which I adore doing. I also mentor other people along their writing journey. And more recently, I've been the creative writing tutor on the UNWC course, the Ultimate Novel Writing Course, which is a role I absolutely adore. And it's something that I'm going to be continuing to do on the spring course. And I really, really hope to see many of you joining us. I've been reading some of the submissions this morning, in fact, and I'm just blown away by the standard of applications coming through. So please check us out and come and see us. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass the baton over to 2 of my students who are going to tell you a little bit about themselves and why they joined the Ultimate Novel Writing Course. So Ed, if I can come to you first.
Thanks, Emma. Thank you. Yeah. So my name's Ed Jones. I'm based in Lancashire in Northwest England. I'm a journalist and kind of media professional. That's my, if you like, proper job, in inverted commas. I've had 2 books published, but non-fiction books, a while ago now. One was called This Is Pop, which was my the story of my journey as a failed pop star back in the 90s, which was great fun to write, and actually sold more copies than we'd sold albums as a band, which was quite ironic. And then that kind of gave me a real I mean, so lucky to get into this world. I can't even remember what I did. I just wrote off and got some really positive feedback at the time. And then the contacts that I used or that I made in that experience got me a second publishing deal for writing a book about Wigan Athletic, the football club, when they just got into the Premier League for the first time. And I just managed to get behind the scenes. I'd had some contacts in that world. So that's me kind of in a writing sense. And then, you know, life got in the way. We've raised a lovely family. But I've always had in the back of my mind an ambition to write fiction. I mean, it was great writing those 2 books, but effectively I wasn't inventing characters because they already existed. I embellished them. That's a different story. But I wanted to write my own story, so I spent a long time, maybe 7-8 years, writing one, which I finally submitted last year, which got All My Abbeys, which got rejected, as Emma has just been discussing. But I got some good feedback at the same time, and I went through actually the Jericho manuscript assessment, and it kind of, rather than kind of putting me off, it had the opposite effect. And then I saw the stuff for this course, and I just thought, why not? It's a big kind of investment financially, but I think the benefits. Well, Emma will probably be able to tell you, but I think that you just become such a better writer through the process. So that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. You do really feel that you've made that journey, and you've actually just finished your first draft as well, haven't you? And we're only on month 8 of the summer course.
Second draft, actually, if I want to be showing off. Yeah. So I've gone through it again, and I'm now 30% through again. So it's that process of going through and through and through. But yeah, so I think that I came with a kind of definitive idea for the course. That's why the course, I think, works, because if you've got it doesn't have to be fully planned, does it? But you've got something, a kernel, then you can progress that idea through the course. Yeah.
Thank you. Corey, can I come to you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and if you could say why you applied for the course.
Yeah, so my name's Corey Sinnott. I am from Boston, Massachusetts, and really, I've been writing for about 15 years. It started as a hobby to really separate myself from the outside noise and the anxieties of the world, really. And I found out that I had a passion for it. I had a knack for it. And my actual job has nothing to do with writing. So really, like I said, it started as a hobby and really grew into a passion. And I'm not published. I'm actually still in the infant stages, as you would say, kind of getting into the public eye, and really taking the proper route of getting my work out there, to be reviewed and to be seen by a larger population of people. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching now that have taken the same route as me. You get so antsy when you write a book, and you're so excited, and you really, really think you have this amazing product, and you get rejections, and you look back on it and you're like, my book was not ready at all. And then UNWC came along, and really just looking at what drew me to the course is looking at just their prospectus and how organized it was and the amount of information that's out there. And one of the biggest things that I always look at, and I've used this analogy with Emma before, is when you look at line, you're trying to be healthier, and you're trying to figure out what you want to eat, your lifestyle to boost your mood, to boost your, your energy and everything. You go online, and one thing will tell you, oh, this is what you need to eat. And then there's something that will completely negate all of that. And by the time you are ready to eat, you're ready to put everything together, you have nothing on your plate. Writing is exactly the same way. Don't use tropes. Use tropes. You can be cliche. Always show, don't tell, but sometimes it's okay to tell. So you really, this course really pulled that all together. And the best thing, and, I took a shot, kind of like Ed, I took a shot at it. I saw it. I put my submission in with my idea for my story, and they reached out, but not with a boilerplate statement. Oftentimes I find on platforms that I've used previously, you don't really have a person to talk to. They actually took the time to schedule a call, talk to you about it, and they weren't selling you on it. They wanted to make sure that this course was right for you. And they took the time to get to know you as a person, not just an author, which really has blew my mind. They have gone above and beyond with really, planting my feet in this journey. So that's really what drew me to this course.
Yeah, thank you, Corey. I think it's probably worth mentioning here that the editor or mentor and the student relationship is a very close one, isn't it? I think you'll all agree that we work very closely. Excuse me. I work closely editorially, and every month you will send me your 3,000 words, and we have a call, and you also get the written feedback. How's that helped you when I've been sort of sending you the feedback, and then when you receive the feedback and then you have to go back and change little bits, or how do you find the feedback on the course? Ed, I'll come to you.
Well, that was really the reason why I applied, because the experience that I'd had in my previous books, the relationship between the writer and the editor was just fantastic. I just absolutely kind of thrived on that, on the fact that somebody was taking your work seriously enough to want to go through with it with you. And I just wanted more of that, because it's such a lonely occupation, isn't it, as an author, as a writer, in so many different ways. I mean, lonely, yes, because you're on your own physically, but it's also lonely because you haven't got anyone to kind of feed back off. You don't know if you're going up, false leads, whatever. So that aspect of it is just been, for me, the most rewarding. And to get to know you as a person, and that it's not all about the book, our discussions, is it? It's about life sometimes, because life feeds what we write anyway. So if you had a bad month, you told us about it, and likewise with me, I've told you about stuff about me which you hadn't planned to, but because it's such a fundamental part of the person, then I think it's almost like the relationship with a university tutor, or a teacher at school who you just have that kind of empathy with. And I think that's been a major obstacle that I've overcome, where you have to submit your work. That's part of the idea, isn't it? But you come back, and I know you're being positive, and you're never going to be completely sort of devastating kind of critique, but that would serve nobody. But I think that it has been positive, hasn't it, the experience that we've had. So I've really benefited, I think, in that respect.
Yeah, and Corey, the same with you. Is the editing and the feedback, and also the communication and the feedback you have from your peers on the group? How's that sort of? How have you found that?
Yeah, it's tremendous, and really, I'll actually tie my answer into the question that's posted. This course is really good for people who have their first draft. I haven't completed my first draft the day as we speak. Right. I still have a few more chapters to go before I really get in that first draft. But there are people in this course who I've really come to know and have developed great friendships with, who have already completed their draft, and they really want to come to this course and really make their novel pop, right? And help them with the editing process. So at any stage, this course is for you. But in terms of the relationship, honestly, not just a mentor, you have a friend for life. And really the biggest difference about joining communities through Slack or a couple others that I've been on, and like Scribophile, and I've done a lot of courses online for creative writing where you do collaborate and you do get feedback from peers, but not so much mentors. The mentors almost, I find, unless you seek one out or one finds you, are pre-recorded videos that tell you, oh, here's how you create, the novel and stuff. You don't get that here. My characters have grown with me. They have grown with Emma. So when Emma sees the characters on the page, she knows their upbringing. She's invested in the characters just as much as I am. And the feedback really dives into my strengths, but also takes a look at what I could be lacking, but in a constructive way. I'll say that I write young adult fantasy, but prior to this, I've really been in the high fantasy realm for my writing. So I have the long elaborate sentences and the setting the scenes. I could go on pages setting a scene. I could talk about a door for 3 pages, but I never really dove too much into the emotions. And when you think you're there, you might not be. And she's helped me to dive a little bit deeper into my character and really set my mind into that character's space and how I would react, to the point now that I'm actually, when I write a book and I'm writing a chapter, we all know we all put our characters through peril, almost from front cover to back cover. So by the time I'm done writing, I'm exhausted. But that is a skill in and of itself that I've picked up by the help of Emma and other people on this course.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting you're saying about how we're going. And yeah, the course is definitely for anybody who has got a first draft there. We've had many people on the summer course who've got a first draft. And as we go through month by month, we'll have tutorials in each month. Like, for example, you might start with planning, you might start with, and then we might go into character and point of view. And the people that have had their first draft already written have suddenly spotted that they have got gaps in their structure. They might realise that they're mixing up their point of views, that their character arc isn't solid enough. So if you have got a book already written, you're in your first draft, then absolutely this course can be for you. But similarly, it can be if you've only got a few pages written and you've just got a broad outline, this course can work for you as well. I remember I have one of the students in my group, in fact, had put in her plan, stuff happens here, like really, really early on, and she's now got to the first draft of her novel. And in fact, in my group, I've got 11 in my group, and I think 8 out of the 11 have now got a first draft, and some, as I'd said, are already on their second draft. Sophie's come with a question. Hello, can you tell us how the course helps people get their books published? Well, we're really, really lucky in that when you go on the ultimate novel writing course, we also affiliate with different agencies. So at the end of the course, there will be you'll have this is the third time I've missed this word today. You'll have a thing, and it'll come back to me in a minute, when you've got all of the students' work in there. They will have like a synopsis and a pitch and perhaps the first sort of 3 chapters of their novel, and then that will be going out to the agency affiliated with the course. And then yes, thank you, anthology. And then that will go out to the agency affiliated with the course. Towards the end of the course as well, the first part of the course is all about the creation of your novel, looking into character and I've said point of view, etc., etc. Towards the end of the course, we'll be looking at getting your synopsis ready, getting your pitch ready. We'll be talking about also self-publishing as well as looking into agents. And at the end of the course as well, there is a get-together in London, where a networking event where you will get to meet the other people on your course face to face, because it's an international course. There'll be people from all over the world on the course and in your group, and you might get to meet them personally, but there will also be agents there that you will be able to talk to face to face. So it's really, really worthwhile for any sort of aspect of writing, even if you're self-publishing or if you're looking for agency representation and going down the traditional route.
Just on that thing, that yes, it's a very attractive part of the course is the links with the agents and the kind of industry side of it, which obviously as an individual it's difficult to get into that. But I think really importantly, and this is something I've learned not just through writing but everything else, it's about getting the I don't like to use the word product, but getting the book to a standard really where it is publishable. So before you even approach an industry, it's about learning, what aspects of the book need to exist, how they coexist. As you say, that it's about characterization, it's about point of view, it's about everything, isn't it? All the different aspects of the course. So it's about making your craft as good as it can be. And I think if you invest as an individual, if you invest, you get out of it as much as you put in, don't you? So it's if you invest, you've got that serious attitude towards improving yourself. And for me, I've approached it with like a humility, if you like. Yes, like sort of Corey said before, we're good writers. We wouldn't be on the course if we weren't. There's a difference between being a good writer and a publishable writer. So it's about having that humility to learn effectively of how can I adapt my craft, in order for it to be as good as it can be. So I think that's the other side of the course, which
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning as well, as part of the course, you get a whole manuscript appraisal. So when you have got your first draft, and as I said, the majority of people in my group have already got to the end of the draft, and these are people that literally didn't have much other than a rough outline and the first few chapters when they started the course. They will then have a full manuscript appraisal. So either your tutor, or you can choose anybody else that Jericho have on, that are going to help on the editing list. They will read the manuscript, and then you will get a full report. So you're having not only the support of learning your craft, and more importantly, getting that book written at the end of the year. You will also have all of that other support. You will have had an editorial, structural edit as well, before you're sort of going and looking at agents. And it's really, really important. And the peer feedback is amazing. You can choose to post homework there. It's not, you don't have to if you don't want to, but you can post your homework on there. You can get the feedback from everybody around you, and it's really, really insightful as well. And as we've talked a bit about before, is the support that you get from the course, and the whole sort of, not only the tutors but the students on there as well. Let me just read this question. Oh, Ed, can I just come to you? Actually, Corey, I'll come to you. Can you tell me a little bit about your own project? I'm just going to read this question.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm writing young adult fantasy, which is my first stab at young adult. So it really came into, there's a learning curve, and there's a skill set that I picked up along the way that's really, allowed me to enhance my novel. And like I said, I don't have my first draft finished, but this course going along the way has put things into perspective and really helped me develop the characters and get their true voice as I'm writing it, instead of going back and changing their voice if I notice something's like nagging at my subconscious. But pretty much it's takes place in modern day. It's from a point of view of his name is William, and there's another point of view, his friend Lucy. And really, my initiating incident happens right away, where he's kind of pulled into this world, or a realm that coexists with our world, full of magic, and beasts and things of that nature. And really, it's him trying to deal with it emotionally and understand his place in the world. And it's really not your typical fantasy of he's the chosen one, he's going to save the world. He's maybe chosen one adjacent, but that's, without going too much into it, I could talk about it for days. But typically, when people ask me what my book is about, that's the hardest question. I think that's the hardest question that anybody could get, because I don't know what to tell you, and I don't know what to not tell you without ruining it. But that's essentially what it is. If you want to say it's inspired by the great minds of C.S. Lewis and that type of spin on fantasy of plucking somebody out of modern day society and going into a world that they do not have any skill sets in.
Yeah, great. That's a great explanation. Well done, Corey. I'm just going to read this question. Is the course less valuable if you aren't coming with a full draft, since your manuscript won't be agent ready, more revision needed by the time the agent one-to-ones and anthology happens? Well, hopefully you will be agent ready by the end of the course. As I said earlier on, even people who had just a framework and a few chapters are now at the end of their first draft. You won't have an agent one-to-one specifically. It will be more of a networking event, but we will be helping you with your submissions and sending them out. So agents will receive a submission and have a look at your synopsis, and they will have received your first few chapters. But you should certainly be in a position to be submitting to agents by the end of the course. If you aren't, your manuscript appraisal that comes with the course can actually go over the end of the course. So if you're not quite ready at the end of the course, you can still have your manuscript appraisal after the course finishes, for up to a year after it finishes. So at some point, I should imagine that your manuscript will be agent ready. Ed, can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, of course. Well, my working title is Who Killed Natalie, which I don't particularly like, but you say is okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great title.
So it's a psychological thriller set in Liverpool, which is near to where I live. And essentially it's the story of a radio journalist who is forced to go back home to Liverpool to cover the 20th anniversary of the death of her best friend, but she was murdered, but it's never been solved. So she's kind of thrust back into this world where she's basically she has to kind of revise her own, or going back into her past, and we discover all her secrets and the kind of the mysteries of her life, if you like. So it's like a character-driven thriller. Yes, it's plot-driven. Yes, it's got a certain amount of action. But basically, I want her, Sally, she's called, to be, a three-dimensional character that a reader has a real affinity for. That's my ambition for the book, anyway. So they come away from the book remembering her, if not all the details of the story, but remembering her as a character, which is what I think, for me, all the best books are,
Yeah, I've actually read the endings of both. I've read the penultimate ending from Corey, and I've read Ed's ending this week, in fact, and both of them have made me have tears in my eyes. So they are both doing something right. Another question from Bonnie. So you're saying all editing for manuscript is included. You will get a structural edit. So you will have the editor will read your manuscript in its entirety, and you will have a report. It will focus on tension, pacing, characterization, where it fits in the publishing world, if it's marketable. So you will have that is certainly included. And then every month your tutor will look at 3,000 words of your novel, and this can be done it's normally done in line with the topic. So this month, for example, with Ed and Corey, we've been doing endings. So both of them have sent me 3,000 words. Ed's was the actual ending of his book, and Corey was the penultimate ending, because that's where he is at that moment. And so they will receive, they received annotations on their 3,000 words from myself. And then they will have a short a few paragraphs where I'm summarising in written form. And then we also have a half an hour Zoom call to discuss that. So you wouldn't be getting a line edit. You wouldn't be getting, copy editing or anything like that. It's much more looking at things from a broad point of view, and then going much deeper every month on that monthly subject. And each month you will have a lead tutor call with whoever the lead tutor is that month. And you will also have 2 group calls as well as your one-to-one call every month. So there is a lot of FaceTime and a lot of close contact with your mentor and with the other tutors on the course. Right, we're almost coming to the end. So I'm going to ask, what is the best thing that you think you've learned from the course, Corey? And then I'll come to you, Ed, with the same question. What do you think the biggest thing or the best thing you've learned so far has been from the course?
Really, honestly, it's outside of all the feedback, and just I'm building lifelong friendships with people around the world. That you can get that in online communities, but really that was huge for me. And diving into your subconscious, I know, like, maybe you can't really dive into your subconscious. It's your subconscious for a reason, but to listen to yourself, listen to your gut. That's the biggest thing. And Anna always says it well, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't want to misquote her, but doubt is a sign of intelligence, right? Like, no one goes into writing a book and saying, this is the best, no edits are needed, nothing. Like, when you have your doubt and you really critically think about your work, it brings you to another level of how you can really draw out your worlds and your characters to really be three-dimensional to the readers. But that's the thing. Trust your gut. And there are times when you're going to be writing and you can't string together a sentence and you have no clue why. You can write. You write very well. But the thing that I've always learned and is always told to me in this is, there's something nagging at you in the back of your mind that it might not be working. And you have to be willing to accept that even though you've written something, it may not work for the overall novel. It may be beautifully written, but you really have to think about that stuff. So it's, again, overall, trust your gut, listen to yourself, and let your subconscious do the work, because you know a lot more than you would ever think you knew. There are things that I did in my writing that I just did, and then people will review it and they'll say, oh, like, you know, I had the scene that I've written where a guy's staring in a mirror and this person's like, oh, it's really such a great look at, you know, his skew on reality. And I was like, I didn't even mean it like that, but like it actually works really well. So just go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah, we've said quite a few times, if something is nagging at you, we've said it quite a few times in our group calls, that if it's nagging at you, there's probably an underlying problem there, and we've sort of unpicked quite often with quite a few in our group, haven't we? And we've realised what's been nagging, or just changing the structure. Because I know that one of the people in our group, we just basically gave her permission to just jump ahead and write the ending, and she'd never written like that before. She'd always written chronologically, and she wanted to just jump to the end. And then that was it. Ed, coming to you then, and what do you think you've got the most from the course?
I'd say, like, as a big picture and little picture, the big picture thing is really a sense of kind of validation, if you like. You know what Corey mentioned about doubt. Yes, we've all got doubts. You know, I'm a mixture of, as you know, a mixture of self-confidence and self-doubt, and I think that the course gives me that sense that what I'm doing has got is valid. That's the only word, you know, that there's a purpose to it, and it's not just me writing away in my bedroom or whatever. It's you know, you telling me, look, you've got something here which is really good. Now obviously it needs X, Y, and Z, but you know, this the fundamental of the book and the fundamental of you as a writer are both kind of valid ideas. So that's the thing that's probably, you know, most encouraging, and it's made me feel like I can be a writer. And then I think specifically as a specific tool, I loved the idea. It was Marcus said, wasn't it, about the variety of varieties is so like all encompassing, like not just in, you know, different types of characters, different storylines, different sentence lengths, different sentence structures. Everything's like, as long as it's not static. And I think that's been a really good lesson for me to have that, you know, the difference between like a kind of minute moment in time, which lasts, you know, maybe a minute in that character's life, which you can spend 5 pages writing, or, you know, like a picture, the eagle swoops out and you look from a distance and you cover five weeks in, you know, a sentence or whatever. You know, it's that variety that I think I've really benefited from, that knowledge.
That's really interesting. Thank you both. I just want to mention as well that we're included in the course. You will also get 2 agent one-to-ones in the course, which you can have at any point as well. So I'm just going to mention that as well. Right, and I think that's it. If you would like to know any more about the Ultimate Novel Writing course, then please visit jerichowriters.com. I think the link is now in the chat. And if you have any questions for myself, you can follow me on Twitter. You can also ask the lovely Anna Vaught, who unfortunately couldn't get here because of technical difficulties, which is a great shame because she's a wonderful, wonderful person to write with and to work with. And she will also be on the spring course. And she's you can find her on Twitter. It's at BookwormVaught, and I'm at It's Emma Cooper. It's been lovely to chat to you all. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Corey. And I'm really looking forward to meeting many of you for the spring course. Do take care. Bye.
Take care.